What is up, guys? It is me, Monster58, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today, and I'm glad to bring you guys some more content. Today, I'm going to be bringing you guys another tier list, and today is going to be a different tier list. What we're going to be focusing on today is going to be the Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy, plus the Legacy line that has currently been released as of July 18th, 2022, when I'm recording this video. Now, I want to make a disclaimer right here is that I'm going to be omitting any of the figures that I do not own because I don't want to judge anything that I currently do not own, although I may make comments here and there based on reviews that I've seen both on YouTube and on social media. But basically, I'm going to be ranking these figures based on how objectively good I think the figures are, not only as in representing the characters that they mean to portray on screen, but also their articulation, maybe the hollowness, the lack of hollowness, which means the solidity, the accessories that they come with. I'm all factoring that into my tier list today. So I'm going to leave a link in the description so you guys can make your own tier list from this tier list that I made, and you guys can do this for yourselves, and maybe you can share it with your friends as well. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Alright, now I want to clarify when it comes to me saying that I made the tier list, I'm not referring to the actual tier list that I found online and I'm using for this video. That's why I'm asking you guys to check the description so you guys can actually link yourself to the tier list. I did not make this tier list, I made my own tier list using this tier list that I found online. So please go check out this tier list online. Link in the description. Again, I want to clarify, I did not make this tier list, I found it online. So let's get back to the video, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So again, I'm going to be omitting those figures that I do not own, so I'll just be kind of skipping over them. I'm not going to create a new tier for them because there's a lot of them I don't own, and the tier for that just grows like to be super huge, so we'll just leave them at the bottom. So first figure we have right here is going to be Siege Sideswipe. Siege Sideswipe, I think, deserves an A tier. Now, I really like this figure. I think it represents Sideswipe beautifully, although I do think that the the Kingdom 2-pack does represent him a bit better, but I do really like this figure. He has pretty solid articulation for a $25-$30 figure. Looks absolutely great. The only reason I'm putting him in A is because he doesn't have the Lamborghini mode. This is currently the figure I have in my display, and I absolutely love this figure. Now we look at Siege Hound, gonna do the same thing here. It's basically the same reasoning. Great figure, great accessories, but unfortunately that vehicle mold just holds him back. I kind of wish that they redid him for Earthrise or for Kingdom, but sadly we are not going to, from what I've seen, be getting a new version of Hound. We're gonna go right to Siege Ultra Magnus, and I'm gonna have to put him in B. And I'm putting him in B because he is a perfect representation of how Ultra Magnus looks in my eyes. The only two things for me that hold him back are, first off, he's kind of like a parts former, and the only way that you actually get the Ultra Magnus is you basically have like a faux Optimus Prime, and for me, even though that results in a fantastic looking robot, I have to kind of take away points because the masterpiece version of Ultra Magnus was able to do this without giving us sort of a faux body and then parts forming around it to give us the Ultra Magnus. So I'm gonna have to take away a little bit of points for that, just because I do think that given the masterpiece actually was able to do that. Granted, I understand the budget is a bit different, but I'm going to have to put Magnus in B for that very reason. The other reason I'm putting him in B is because not a lot of people like the sort of design, the wear on the Siege figures, and I understand that. And so I'm going to knock him a teeny bit for that, even though I particularly don't really mind it. I have him in my collection as my Ultra Magnus. But other than that, yeah, that's why I'm putting him in B. But still a fantastic figure. If you do have the money, I recommend picking this guy up. Next, we have Siege Shockwave. He'll also go in B. Reason he's in B is because of the accessories. He's offered at a leader class price point. I don't think he deserved to. I honestly think that this guy deserved to be just a Voyager, and ultimately, even though the Shockwave, if you subtract all of the extra gubbins, is extremely nice, unfortunately the gubbins and the leader class price point are not warranted for this release, so I'm going to have to omit him completely. Going down here, we now have Siege Red Alert. I'm going to put him in A as well, and the reason we're putting him in A, same reasons for Sideswipe. Represents the character beautifully, just that vehicle form is a little lackluster. Obviously, it's not the Lamborghini vehicle form, but it's still the one I have on display because I love the robot form. Don't get me wrong, you can't go wrong with either the Kingdom version of this guy, when he's actually his Lamborghini mode, same thing with Sideswipe, but we're just going to put them in A. I just don't own those because I didn't want to shell out more money for figures I already bought, and plus to get the Kingdom Sideswipe, you had to get Air Razor in that 2-pack, and I wasn't interested in Air Razor, so not going to spend the extra money. Springer, Siege Springer, that guy is going to go at the top of A tier, and it is just because it is amazing. Beautiful representation of the character on screen, great accessories all around, looks the part, has the alt forms that he needs, and ultimately the only reason he's held back a bit is because the transformation can be a little bit frustrating. Other than that, fantastic figure, can't recommend him enough. Next we have Siege Mirage, and we're going to put him in B tier. I do really like how he looks, don't get me wrong. He looks really fantastic. It's just a bit unfortunate that some of his stuff is faux. And yes, I know that there's been a huge discussion about faux parts on Twitter. I don't really want to get into that. But personally, for me, I'm just going to have to put him in B tier. He is a fantastic figure. I just have issues with some of the hollowness that he's got. The clear plastic also I'm afraid of wearing over time. And I'm not the biggest fan of that. But other than that, he does look fantastic. And since he's just sitting there in his robot mode for me, I'm using him as my display. Next, going down here, we have Siege Astro Train, and we're going to put him in A tier. I'm going to put him right at the bottom. The reason being, the accessories that he comes with compared to like Shockwave is much more useful to him as a character. The only thing is that in the robot mode, it kind of suffers, but in his train mode, it actually makes a lot of sense and also acts as storage for his weapons. And the other thing is that his robot form is, oh my god, it's almost perfect. The only thing about this figure I really do not like is like there's two things, excuse me, that his extra accessories become like shoe platforms for him to when he gets taller, and that's the other point I'm going to make. He's a little too tiny. I always think that the triple changers, including Blitzwing, should be a bit taller than Megatron because they're triple changers. Because especially in the anime, in the cartoon, that he was able to fit all of the Decepticons in his shuttle and train modes. So for me, I do think that he should be bigger than Megatron, but he isn't. He's actually shorter than Megatron by a tad. And that's the only thing that detracts me from this figure besides the extra parts too. But the extra parts actually make a little more sense in this release. Next we have Jetfire / Skyfire, the Commander class. I gotta put this guy in S tier. I think he's brilliant. I can't really find major faults with this guy. He's one of the shelf presence figures I have on the Autobot shelf that I have. Absolutely fantastic figure. I love this guy to death. I don't really have anything bad to say about this guy. He represents the G1 cartoon perfectly, represents the G1 toy really well with his armored mode, plenty of accessories, absolutely monstrous size, the size he should be. I have nothing really to fault with this guy. Going through here, we have actually the Seeker Siege Trilogy. We have a 3-pack actually. We have Nova Storm, Ion Storm, and Acid Storm. And I gotta say, these guys are going in B, and the reason they're going in B is because I do think that they're better than the Earthrise Seekers in the way of their articulation. I also think that they represent their on-screen counterparts extremely beautifully, and I like having them in their Cybertronian modes because the only time you really ever see them is on Cybertron, and so for me to have them in their Tetrajet modes makes the most sense to me. I think they're great figures all around. I really like them. I'm just putting them in B because I don't think that they are for everybody. I think that they have a taste to them that only if you really like Seekers or you want more sort of shelf presence or shelf display, you'll get these guys, but I personally think that they'll fit in well with the display. Moving on here, we have Earthrise Wheeljack. Gotta put this guy in A tier, gonna put him above Astro Train. I think he's a really good figure. It's just, I think that his shoulder cannon / gun is a bit too tiny. And on top of that, I think his wing bits on his back could be a bit longer. But I understand why they're the way that they are, because they make a spoiler in his car mode. And also, his car, even though it is really, really good, I think the green is a bit faded. I think it's not as vibrant as it could be. Other than that, fantastic figure. Definitely recommend picking him up for that very nice price. Look at the other figures here. We got Hoist. Gonna put him in A tier as well. The only caveat I have with Hoist, literally there's only one thing wrong with this figure, and it's those big arm panels he's got. If they found a way for those just to fold, just to get out of the way, S tier figure. But just gonna put him in A because of those arm bits. Next thing, looking down, we got Cliff Jumper. Also putting him in A. Gonna put him probably just below Springer. Think he's a fantastic figure. Two things that bother me. He has no Autobot symbol on the hood. I mean, on the roof of his car, which means he has no Autobot symbol in robot mode that's visible on his chest like he did in the original cartoon, which the buzzworthy fixes that. But the other reason he's at this spot is because I don't like how you have to take his car back off all that much. I kind of wish it was just incorporated into his transformation, but again, that's a whole nother discussion. But he's an A because they added the ski stuff. Like, they added his skis from his one episode where they were all driving on the water, and he had the little skis on his tires for his water mode. And they added his big bazooka that he had in the very first episode of G1, where he was gonna shoot Megatron in the face, but ended up missing, and then they ended up getting in a fight. Absolutely amazing. Love that they added those accessories. And again, he's only at A tier because of a couple small things, keeping him from S tier. Next thing we got is Earthrise Grapple. A tier figure by far. The only reason he's going in A tier is because of a QC issue. And the reason is those pegs. I have my figure, and unfortunately, his peg broke. One of the pegs on him broke, and it's really, really sad. But the robot mode and vehicle mode look fantastic. Again, it's just literally because of a QC issue with his pegs. That's the only reason he's going in A tier, and it's really sad that I have to do that. Looking at it, we have Earthrise Starscream, putting him in C. Even though I think he looks brilliant and looks the part, no waist articulation still irks me, and on top of that, the articulation is a little lackluster in this release. Don't get me wrong, from a looker standpoint, and even for the decent part, a functional standpoint, he's really good. Vehicle mode, brilliant. Robot mode looks fantastic. Unfortunately, it's that articulation that really holds this guy back. And unfortunately, that's where Skywarp, Thundercracker, Thrust, Ramjet, and Dirge. Where's Dirge? Dirge. They're all going in there for those reasons. Just going to get those out of the way now. Earthrise Optimus Prime. By far S tier. Oh my god. I have the Year of the Horse MP10 mold because I never got the original Toys R Us exclusive MP10 mold. This figure, in his robot mode and vehicle mode, oh my god. If Mini Masterpiece wasn't screamed with this figure, it screams with this figure. You know, I don't know what else to tell you. It is fantastic for the price point. He even has articulated fingers, Matrix of Leadership. He has the little repair bay in his trailer. The engineering is fantastic. The only thing with his robot mode is those wheels on the back might be bothersome to somebody, but I don't think that they really detract at all. The literally only thing that I say with this Earthrise release is that his arms are a little too stubby to do his opening his own chest, revealing the Matrix of Leadership, and holding the Matrix of Leadership. Only things that hold this figure back, but S tier, looks the part, very affordable for a Mini Masterpiece Optimus Prime. Fantastic. By the way, one figure I'm looking at now that I did miss, Omega Supreme. Titan class Omega Supreme, I put him in S tier as well. Fantastic figure, really great articulation, big boy, same size as Combiner Wars Devastator, actually a bit bigger, like a little taller than Combiner Wars Devastator. Amazing shelf presence, great playability. I have nothing more to say about Omega Supreme. Just a fantastic figure all around. Definitely recommend picking him up if you haven't, but I'll say he's going for pretty hefty prices on Amazon right now. Arcee, Earthrise. It's the same she has the same Kingdom release as well. D. There's a reason I pre-ordered the new Studio Series 86 Arcee that they just revealed, which is a heavy retool of the Thrilling 31. Unfortunately, it's just like she's a shell former and literally not a transformer. There's nothing about her I think is really good besides the robot mode, and if that's the case, she should have just been one of those, like, I forget the line that they use to just release very cartoon accurate versions in just giving us a robot mode. I forget what it's called, that line that Hasbro has. But that's what she should have been ultimately. She just looks really bad. And I get, it's really hard to get her design especially because it was the 80s, into a very clean form without giving her an insane backpack and making her transformation that way. But at least the new Thrilling 30 retool and the Thrilling 31 have transformation aspects to her that actually make her feel like a transformer. With this one, she just does not feel like a transformer at all. And the only reason I have her is because it's the only Arcee I have for G1, and she looks good in robot mode. Other than that, she's a pretty crap figure all around. All right, continuing on, we have a Smokescreen here. Gonna go in high A tier. Love this guy. Only thing that detracts me from this guy is I wish his guns were painted in silver. Not gonna lie to you. Other than that, I think he looks fantastic. The other reason maybe is the hollowness of his legs, and that goes with all of the Carbots, which reminds me those guys are all gonna go here. There's Prowl and Blue Streak. Yep, they'll all go in here for those reasons. I just wish that their accessories were a little more nicely painted, but other than that, their robot modes are absolutely fantastic. Their car modes are also equally as fantastic, and again, the hollowness of their legs also just detracts a little bit from me. Going in here, we have Sunstreaker, also going in A tier, and the reason he's going in A tier to go right next to his brother is because of two things. One, of his lack of an actual gun, like his accessory, I only keep it plugged on his back. I wish he came with an extra gun. And the other thing is the differences in the yellows that they painted for him. As you can even probably take a look and see with this image, his chest is clearly a different color. It's clearly black plastic painted yellow, and the rest of him is molded yellow, and there's just so many different variations in the yellows that it kind of throws you off a little bit. But other than that, fantastic figure. There is an upgrade kit that you can buy on Amazon for him where it fills in a little bit of his hollowness and gives him a gun. But other than that, I still think he's a fantastic figure. Just again, a couple small nitpicks IMO. So yeah, continuing on, we have Earthrise Ironhide, and he's going to go in B tier. The reason he's going in B is because I do think he's a fantastic representation, but that little gray little smudge on his chest kind of ruins the flow of his chest. And also, his vehicle form is a lot more to be desired. It's just like the tires aren't painted, the back looks awful because his feet are just sticking out, and there's no clear plastic differentiating windows. Other than that, the robot mode does look brilliant. It's just that gray smudge there in his vehicle form kind of detract from it as well. And even the accessory of his shield I'm not the biggest fan of it either. All right, scrolling on and looking on, we have Earthrise Ratchet, which by the way will also go there. The Paradrawn Medics, right, 2-pack also go there. Same reasons as Ratchet. I actually will put him a little bit above because I do think he cleans up a bit better than Ironhide. But for the most part, it's the vehicle mode kibble that throws me off a lot. I also forgot, I apologize, but we have Earthrise Megatron. I'm going in A tier, low A tier. And the reason is because that backpack sucks. Other than that, his accessory for his sword is like meh, but his robot mode does look brilliant, and it's very clean, and I really do like that. So, absolutely great representation of Megatron. Love the face sculpt as well, but it's just that backpack and that sword accessory that take away from it. Next, we have Trailbreaker here. Mr. Trailbreaker will go right next to Hoist. Again, the only caveat with this figure is literally those arm panels. Those big arm panels kind of take it away from me. Other than that, fantastic figure. Taking a look, we also have Lifeline. We'll go in D tier next to Arcee. Same reasons as Arcee. Looking at the other figures, we have Netflix Bumblebee. A tier. Very high A tier. The only reason he's an S tier is because he comes with the exact same accessories that Cliffjumper came with, and on top of that, he doesn't come with his own gun. I kind of wish they differentiated the accessories. I get that it's just sort of, a retool of Cliffjumper, and that's all that Cliffjumper and Bumblebee are, but still wish they would have given him a little more unique accessories. Also, no Autobot logo on his chest, but still fantastic figure. Next, we have Netflix Soundwave. S tier. By far an S tier figure. This guy is brilliant. He just looks insanely good. I love the alt mode for his cassette tape mode. I have nothing really bad to say about Earthrise Netflix Soundwave. It's fantastic figure. Nothing really bad. The only caveat I think is that people are experiencing yellowing in the plastic with his gray bits. I personally haven't, but that is an issue that definitely is warranted. Coming with Earthrise Netflix Soundwave is Ravage and Laserbeak. Gonna put these guys in A tier. They're going in A tier just because, they're tiny figures. They don't have a lot of articulation, but they look the part. So I'm gonna give them that. And you can also put laser beak on Soundwave's arm as well, which is pretty cool. The only thing is, mine doesn't exactly like to do it, and I know that a lot of people's don't exactly like to get on there either, so, you know, what are you going to do? We have Warpath from Kingdom, getting into Kingdom now, putting him in high A tier right below Bumblebee. I love Warpath. I think he looks absolutely fantastic. I have nothing major to say about him. Actually, now that I think about it, I kind of actually think, yeah, I think he actually deserves to go in S tier. I think he's an S tier figure. There's some differentiations in the reds, but his transformation's brilliant, and he plays really well. I have actually nothing really bad to say about Warpath. Yeah, going in S tier for that. Going through, actually, wait, is that the wrong Megatron that I put up there? I can't tell what the difference is with these Megatrons. Actually, this looks like the Earthrise one, so we'll chuck you back down. But you guys already know my reasoning on Earthrise Megatron. Alright, going through, looking at more Kingdom stuff, I believe we have Huffer here. Huffer will go in B tier. I think he's really good. It's just I think he's a tad bit too big. And on top of that, his truck mode looks like it's like not flat. It looks like it's bending at the middle, and that kind of bothers me. Other than that, he's a fantastic figure. But the fact that you can attach Earthrise Prime's trailer onto it is actually a really, really good accessory. Like, they didn't need to add that functionality in, but they did. And I love how Hasbro's been doing that lately, adding these little, like, details from the original cartoon that only appeared in one episode, but it's still fantastic that they went out of their way to actually add those accessories in and those functionalities. Inferno. Gonna go in high A tier. Reason he's going there instead of Grapple, because he's going way higher than Grapple in A tier, is because his pegs were actually fixed. They actually fixed the pegs for the Inferno release because Hasbro realized, hey, we don't want to actually have those really long pegs because we will snap off, right? So we do have Inferno in A tier. Going down here, looking at more of these Kingdom figures, Cyclonus is going in S tier. This guy's brilliant. Again, the only caveat is the yellowing plastic that some people are experiencing. I have not experienced that, but vehicle mode is brilliant. Paint job, fantastic. Face sculpt, love it. Has light piping. Great gun accessory. Painted silver, looks amazing. Robot mode, oh my god, this guy cleans up so well. It's, in my opinion, it's basically a perfect version of Cyclonus, and I absolutely adore Cyclonus. Love this figure. Absolutely amazing figure. Continuing on, I believe we have Trax. I gotta put this guy in C. Sadly, those legs, man, those legs are awful. The legs are really bad. And also, he doesn't like to exactly snap together in his vehicle mode very well. Other than that, for me, his shelf presence is there. He's there to look like Trax, and that's it. So for me, he looks great. It's just his functionality is awful. It's really, really. It's not as bad as, in my opinion, as Arcee because he actually transforms. But yeah, I have to put him there. So sorry, Trax. Looking here, we have Galvatron. Gonna go in high A tier. One reason he's not an S. A lot of people experience those reversed shoulders. And also a little bit of the siege stuff, but again, that's definitely deserves to go in S tier if he didn't have those shoulder problems. And then that's Hasbro's fault. That's nobody's fault. Because in my opinion, he is an S tier figure. It's just literally the reason I'm putting him in A is because of those QC issues that a lot of people were experiencing. Sorry, Galvatron, but yeah, you're going right there. But fantastic figure otherwise, don't get me wrong. Like, pretty flawless figure. The fact that they made his extra accessories look like the Nemesis ships from the original 86 movie, absolutely brilliant. Continuing on, Commander Class Rodimus Prime. I do believe he deserves to go in S tier. This guy is fantastic. The engineering in this is beyond what I could have imagined. And he does really look like an older Hot Rod. And I love that about this guy. Absolutely brilliant. I think that this is a fantastic and pretty much almost on-screen perfect representation of the 1986 movie version and onwards of Hot Rod. Really, really amazing. The only caveat I would have with this figure is the clear plastic. Other than that, I can't really hold that against it because there's so much good going for this guy. Also, the trailer of him, brilliant as well. I think it looks great. The base functionality is pretty cool for those of you who like it. I personally don't, but I still think it's really, really amazing. And he has a lot of heft to him. He feels very solid. We got Deluxe Jazz. I think he deserves to go in S tier personally. Now, I know the clear plastic. I understand that. And his backpack could have been done better. Other than that, and his legs are a bit wobbly. However, the look and for pretty much the most part, the functionality still looks fantastic. I love this figure beyond anything. I absolutely love it. All right. Scrolling down, we now have Cup. I'm going to actually put this guy in S tier. I think he's fantastic. The fact that they added the actual parts of the cartoon where he gets completely ripped apart, right? And you can actually do that is really amazing. Has decent enough accessories. I just think that this guy is a fantastic figure all around him. He looks amazing. And in that vein, we're also going to put Blur not in S tier. We're going to put him in high A tier, just below Galvatron. It's just those arm bits are a little too big for me. Other than that, fantastic figure all around. It's just those arm bits that really bother me, that I think they're a little too chonky. Now, I just want to point out that the reason that some figures are going into S tier over A tier is because... Now, I'm pausing the video once more. I apologize for this, but it's to clarify my reasoning for putting figures in S over A tier. The reason I think I've put these figures in S over A tier is just due to the fact that, in my opinion, there are certain details that are added to the figures in S tier that just push them over the edge compared to the figures in A tier. So I just wanted to clarify that, and I apologize for the pause again. I just wanted to make sure that you guys understood because, again, the reasoning I give here is really, really convoluted. So, back to the video. I believe this is, I'm considering this the sweeps. We're going to move Scourge here. So Scourge, I believe, goes into A tier by far, right below Galvatron, and I believe the sweeps go into B. Reason I'm putting the sweeps in B is because they could have, I don't know, there's no reason to release this guy unless the paint job was significantly different, and it is different, but in my opinion, not significant enough. Still has the same functionality as Scourge. I just think Scourge is just, like, the fact that they made this figure kind of irks me a little bit, but Scourge is fantastic. Like, the mold is amazing for Scourge. I just wish there was more of a differentiation between the sweeps and Scourge, which is why the sweeps are in B. Moving on, we have Grimlock S tier. S tier. S tier. Love this guy. Brilliant. There's nothing really wrong with him at all. Like, nothing. I don't see anything wrong. And in that vein, Slag or Slug is going to go in A as well. I apologize for any viewers that watch it from the UK or other countries that have that word as a insult, because I know that that is not a good word in those countries, which is why they renamed him to Slug. But yes, also, same reason as Grimlock. Fantastic everything. Like, I have nothing to fault against that figure at all. I'm saying that right now. Wreck-Gar also deserves to go in S tier. And yes, I know I skipped over some stuff. Wreck-Gar, nothing wrong with this besides the QC issues that some people have been having. But other than that, the figure's like brilliant. Looking at the other stuff for this, we have Hot Rod. Deserves to go in A tier. I just don't think that the accessories warrant him having a Voyager price point. That's it. I don't think that the price point's warranted for him with the extra accessories that he gets. That's just me. Wheelie and Daniel are going in F tier. These are awful. They look okay. Like, Wheelie looks okay, but like they can't even stand up straight. That's all I have to say. They're just there to be there and to increase the price points for Grimlock and Slag. Perceptor. Perceptor looks brilliant. I'm gonna put him in S tier as well. I think that Perceptor ultimately just looks the part, has the microscope mode, has the tank mode. I have literally nothing to fault against this guy. I literally picked him up like a few weeks ago, maybe like 3 weeks ago. I have nothing but good things to say about Perceptor. Brilliant figure. And we're starting to get into Legacy, and first things first, we've got Skids. Skids will go in B. Think he's really good. Just overall, there's some things like the clear plastic, also his accessory for his blue clear thing. I don't really like the accessories. I'm not a big fan. Also, he's got some hollowness in his legs that could be a little bit better. But other than that, I do think he looks the part and is brilliant otherwise. Just, yeah, there's just some things about him. Other than that, though, I still think he's a fantastic figure. Like anything, honestly, I'm going to say this. The lines themselves are fantastic. It's just that there's... And I'm not saying that these figures down here are technically awful, even though I do kind of think that these ones are. It's just that the C figures have issues with them that don't exactly work. And it's like functionality or, worry of breakage or something like that. Those are the lower figures, and also maybe certain looks that they have and accessories that they have. Continuing on, Legacy Drag Strip. S tier. Looks brilliant. I know a lot of people may not be a fan of all yellow, but it's cartoon accurate, and I love it. Absolutely fantastic. Have nothing but good things to say about Drag Strip. Only caveat are those shoulder things, but those don't really bother me all that much. We have Kickback, also in S tier. Amazing insect mode, very simple looking. G1 on-screen accurate representation. You guys better give us Bombshell and Shrapnel. I swear to God, please give us those. I ask you, Hasbro and Takara, please give us those figures. And for Legacy, I don't think I currently own anything else. I'm looking at them. I'm going to put Junk Keep in A tiers. Actually, we're going to just put him in S tier. Same reasons as Retgar. Looks the part, is the part. Nothing really to fault with this guy. The fact that you can ride Retgar and Junk Keep is brilliant as well. Oh, I do see a little Kingdom Blaster snuck in there. Kingdom/Legacy Blaster, I believe. S tier. This figure is amazing. The only thing about him is eject is made of clear plastic, and that sucks big wee wee. But oh my god, this is a perfect blaster figure. Fantastic boombox mode, fantastic robot mode, great paint applications across the board. Awesome little gun that he's got. Great representation of his G1 gun in the G1 toy. I mean, there is nothing I have to say bad about Blaster as a whole if you remove eject from the situation. Like, it is pretty much a picture-perfect on-screen representation of the G1 Blaster that we all know and love. And what I love, too, is that he's not a remold of Soundwave. He's all new, because he's bigger, which kind of irks me. But he's a little bit bigger than Soundwave. Absolutely love Blaster. Can't praise this figure enough. If you haven't picked him up, please go pick him up. And I think with that, I'm looking at all of the Legacy stuff. Most of this has not been released yet. And I don't think that I've missed any figure that I do not own. I think that is the tier list, so I'm throwing that up on screen right now, leaving the link in the description again for this tier list. But yeah, this is my tier list. I ultimately think that this is how the Legacy Studio Series 86 War for Cybertron Trilogy figures have laid it out for me. I absolutely love this line. I hope that they keep going. There have been issues, obviously, with QC and stuff like that, which I totally understand. Don't get me wrong, I get it. But overall, as someone who grew up watching this cartoon on DVD, the G1 cartoon, I am super happy to finally be able to have some of the closest on-screen representations of these characters that we've seen in years. So I know that everyone's going to call me a G1er, kind of similar to how people in Pokemon would call like people like Gen 1ers, right? But I gotta say, it's just what I grew up with, guys. I hope you can respect that, you know. I love this line. Everyone might be saying that they're pandering, and yes, I understand your points, and there's definitely the warrant for complaining about that. We all have different opinions, to each their own, but for me, I'm having a feast with these figures right now. So with that, I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, subscribe, share this video with your friends. Follow me on the socials linked in the description below, and with that, guys, I will catch you guys in the next video. Y'all have a wonderful day. Peace.
High ambitions and the right mind can take you so far. It's like you lived a few lifetimes. Take off from a break off from the weak minds. They can stay soft. You can change lives.